I'm Mark Harmon. Stay tuned for the next hour, because there's only one premiere.
Tonight, Premiere's exclusive look
Back in Gotham City,
inside 4 movies
Bruce Wayne.
you're going to want to see this summer.
Don't forget to go shopping.
The behind-the-scenes story of the courting of Jack Nicholson and how Michael Keaton became Batman.
Wardrobe with a capital W.
Mel Gibson
I suppose we have to register you as the lethal weapon.
on location with Danny Glover.
Detective Burton.
Morning, Roger.
Burton, lethal weapon.
Lethal Weapon 2 has an explosive script, but it's okay with director Dick Donner that Mel Gibson hasn't looked at it in months.
I mean, this is bizarre. This is good right over the top.
The most amazing sequence of the summer. An exhaustive underwater production. So demanding.
I saw these things.
Some actors found it difficult to keep pace with this director.
I actually got so absorbed in my work once that I just ran out of air while I was doing a scene 30 feet down.
I know I'm going to get bruised.
And battered. And bumped around.
Germany has declared war on the Jones boys.
I hate these guys.
When director Steven Spielberg asks Harrison Ford to perform many of his own rugged stunts in Indiana Jones.
There'll be a lot of use in later life.
Next on Premiere.
Reporter.
Need a rewrite.
Mulberry Street. Not in New York's Little Italy, but on a back lot in Los Angeles. The streets and sound stages are quiet today, but during the past year, every studio in town has been frantically preparing for right now. 50 major films will be released between Memorial Day and Labor Day, and the combination of big stars, big sequels, and big budgets will make this the most spectacular summer of moviegoing ever. Here on Premiere Magazine's first television special, we were allowed rare access into the making of 4 very special films. 7 of the most prominent stars in Hollywood and 4 of the most respected directors in the film industry invited Premiere inside their summer blockbusters.
Premiere Inside the Summer Blockbusters is brought to you by Tide with Bleach. It'll knock your socks off and it'll get them whiter than any other detergent. Introducing...
You know by now that India's back, and you may have already braved the lines to see the movie. This next segment is not a preview. It's a story of redemption. A story of director Steven Spielberg's effort to top himself. A personal quest to make this the best of the indie films before putting this part of his life behind him. And one scene best exemplifies that drive to surpass himself. There's a critical 10-minute tank chase in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and for Premiere, Steven Spielberg will take us through this vital scene. By explaining the individual shots, we get a rare glimpse into the mind of one of Hollywood's most successful directors.
We found a great character, Indiana Jones. He's a wonderful character, and people love him, and they want to see more of him in the same leather jacket and fedora hat. And so do I.
Action. Look, what do you think is going on? Since I met you, I've nearly been incinerated, drowned, shot at, and chopped into fish bait.
You call this archaeology? Get out of there, Dan!
Well, I know I'm going to get dirty. I know I'm going to get bruised. I know I'm going to get
conducting a scoring session of the closing credits marks the end of the production of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The very last day of a $36 million project which began filming 11 months earlier. This was a film that 42-year-old Steven Spielberg wouldn't direct unless a captivating story was written that returned Indiana Jones to the fun-loving adventures of the old serials, the movies of the 1930s and 40s, which had originally inspired him and executive producer George Lucas. And in retrospect, Spielberg was so unhappy with the dark, horrific feeling of Indy's second installment, The Temple of Doom, that initially he could think of only two reasons to make the final installment. One, to honor a handshake agreement in 1981 with Lucas to direct the trilogy. And two, to apologize for the second film. 5 years had passed since the last Indy film because Steven Spielberg had rejected 3 potential screenplays, 3 completely different stories that weren't acceptable to him.
The fall's on fire.
Spielberg's enthusiasm returned when the final script included a new character, to be played by Sean Connery. To meet the Last Crusade's release date, Spielberg reluctantly had to pass up directing the hit movie Big and the Academy Award-winning Rain Man. He had worked on the Rain Man script for 5 months. But now on a dry riverbed on the desert near Almeria, Spain, with a 25-ton, 30-foot-long tank. Spielberg will direct Harrison Ford in a demanding tank chase. The chase is a key sequence, which will challenge Spielberg to equal the impact of the truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark. If it works, he will combine meticulous preparation as to what story points need to be conveyed with the ability to improvise a complicated scene. Action! Shot by shot.
And my parents' generation was raised on adventure stories and westerns. In a way, this movie has a little bit of the western genre in it. I mean, Indy rides a horse in this one a lot. And there's this great, long, complicated tank chase. Man on horse versus World War I behemoth, steel giant. And that's fun. That was great fun to shoot. I made up the tank chase through storyboard. And I storyboarded it just based on a kind of idea in the script that simply said there's going to be a tank chase and there's going to be a fight on the tank. That's all we had. We had really nothing written at all.
Now, over in India, especially in it's just not on here.
I was looking move. Once you see this thing operate, you might want to look into it. I made the whole thing up in about 2 days, and it was fun. It was fun plotting it out. It sort of came very naturally. The tank chase began with no middle and no ending. I had no idea how it was where it was going. So I started with, Indy is pursued by the tank. And the tank is firing at him. So I devised to put Henry, Indy's father, inside the tank.
Where's my father? In the belly of that steel beast.
He's captured by the Nazis. He's put inside the tank. And now Indy has to rescue his father.
343K, take one. MB cameras.
Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3. Of the father by the son puts a spin on the entire tank chase and gives, I think, all the gags and cliffhangers and near misses a reason for being in the movie. We had 2 tanks. We had the real tank. We only let the stuntman on the real tank, but then we had what I call the float tank. I said, well, we build a tank that we can all work on. It's not dangerous. Where the treads are made of rubber, and the treads don't go all the way to the ground. It's kind of like a float. There's a car underneath it, and the treads sort of, go all the way around, but we can have a man catcher around the entire side of the tank. So when somebody falls over, they fall into a people catcher. Oh, they got the Stewart hit and then just roll onto the tread like they're having like that. Good. That's the idea. Do that, get there, and just roll over. And don't have to turn yourself here. On the way up, just kind of groggily turn around. Exactly. It keeps you moving. It keeps you alive. Yeah. And action. Action. It's worked great. It really has worked great. There's no way you can distinguish between the real tank and the float tank. And Harrison's done most of the fighting certainly on the float tank. Probably 80 mil on Harrison like this. Yep. 80 mil right here. Yeah.
In the back of his head down.
There we go. We must be a bit higher for that. Just a bit. And in the meantime, we put a side rig to get me in Panavision the entire thing going by, so the lens is about here. Yeah. Stephen, we got this in the foreground too. What's that? Wait, what are you doing? Great. The best moments in Indiana Jones' personality, the best character moments come within an action sequence. A look, an expression after a punch.
There's going to be a lot of use in later life.
Okay, here we go. Let's shoot. It's all part of the same panache. So it's very, very important that Harrison does get involved in some of the fisticuffs. The dangerous stuff, certainly not. But the stuff that's reasonable, Harrison loves to do.
About halfway through the tank chase, Spielberg again called on Harrison Ford to perform his own stunt. Ford had practiced earlier in the day with a safety car. Spielberg spent 2 weeks filming with the $200,000 custom-built tanks to create a chase that would last 10 minutes in the movie.
That looked great. Good cellar right there. Right there. Oh, great. That look. Straight up a rocky way right behind.
Here's a portion of this part of the tank chase with a full widescreen effect as it actually appears in the movie. We don't want to give away the entire scene.
Kids, don't try this at home. It's really best left for professionals like us.
The final day of scoring is unusually emotional for Spielberg and John Williams because The Last Crusade is aptly titled. This is the final chapter. The trilogy ends today. Harrison Ford was only contracted for 3 films. And there's a feeling among the principals that it's time to let Indy join Star Wars Luke Skywalker and ride off into the sunset after 3 chapters. It had been more than 10 years since George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, while vacationing in Hawaii, had envisioned an adventure series with an archaeologist hero named Indiana Jones. He would wear a fedora, and he would snap a bullwhip. He would have to deal with bugs, snakes, and in this movie, rats. There would be exotic locales, lots of guys wearing hats, and because the time frame was the 30s, a reoccurring enemy.
I hate these guys.
The women he met would be strong-willed.
How dare you kiss me?
His vulnerability would be appealing, but he wouldn't be the safest guy to be around.
Those people are trying to kill us. I know, Dad.
It's a new experience for me. Happens to me all the time.
And in the end, because Steven Spielberg, the childhood dreamer, would have it no other way, good would always triumph over evil. again. The film's opening day was the third highest grossing open in history. Coming up next on premiere, another sequel. That'll be a blockbuster in July, starring Mel Gibson. Hollywood studios don't like surprises, and sequels, well, they help prevent Hollywood executives from getting surprised. As a rule, a sequel will usually make about 80% of what the original made. So, in 1987, when Lethal Weapon made $65 million, odds are we were going to see Mel Gibson and Danny Glover back together again real soon. Producer-director Richard Donner is also back, and for premiere, Donner gives us an inside look at a style of directing quite different from Steven Spielberg's. An approach where the script is only a rough guide, and improvisation the norm.
First time in 20 years, got the bathroom all to myself. When I glanced over, I saw this. Tell me I'm not screwed. He's screwed. Okay, well, I'd be lying. You'll be okay if you don't stand up. Well, that's a relief.
He's lost something very near and dear to him. He's a little more maniacal. He's a little more lethal.
This is on, huh?
I surrender.
They're from South Africa. They're Kruger hands.
It's really very basic. Like what you do before you do it, and love it when you're doing it. I look at the pre-production, the planning of the film, the script writing, the casting, the putting it together as kind of the foreplay. And then one day you start shooting, and that's going right. That's making love. That's making love for 12 straight weeks, day in and day out, and it gets better and better and better. We got the cable running up. It's a phony thing. So these guys are going to pull on it. As you back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And the real cable's tied into a stake that goes down to China.
To my heart. Okay.
That's it. That's great.
And then you build your child. You edit it, and you re-edit it, and you edit it, and re-edit it, and edit it, and re-edit it, and then you add sounds, and you add music and special effects, and you hate that sound, you go back over that.
Hey, what do you say? What do you say?
I don't give a damn.
What does that mean?
It's mantra. Hey, why is everybody parked on my desk?
And then finally one day the studio says, hey, enough already. And there's your picture, and it's your kid.
Okay, lights out.
Fuck. Gonna die on the toilet on it.
I've never been around with the picture open. I'm always afraid my kid's gonna be ugly.
Guys like you don't die on toilets.
I like a happy set. I like a loose set. I like it fun. I like it enjoyable. We come to work in the morning. And I keep saying it, but I'm very sincere. I have such a wonderful time working with these two guys.
He's your eyes. I mean, he's your total awareness. That's all. You can be only so aware. And, I mean, part of what we do is a kind of a honing of self-awareness to be able to know how we're affecting and how we're communicating. I'm surprised you haven't heard about me. You know, I got a bad reputation. I mean, sometimes I just go nuts like now. You cannot be 100% there, but oft times another pair of eyes outside, totally objective, can just give you that extra little tweak.
The gun looks too high to the lens. Fire at his knee. It'll look right to us. Great. Perfect. You get these two guys together, and you do turn them loose.
Let's do it.
One line, one bit, and they're going to run with it. And they know their characters so well that even though, once they have the situation of the scene, they got the beginning, the middle, and the end in their mind, wherever they go with it, I'm thrilled.
He's not afraid to let you work. He's not afraid to let you contribute. I haven't looked at my script in months. Yeah. It's we turn up and then because you're not going to do what's on the page. I mean, it's not going to. I mean, you get close, you get in the general area, in the ballpark, but then it can go anywhere. And everyone's open to that too. See, that's the good. He creates an environment, an atmosphere where that is allowed to happen.
I've done a lot of movies, I've done a lot of television, I've worked with a lot of Just give me a Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and I'll be a happy camper. That's all.
You're not going to make it.
I'm gonna make it.
No, there's not enough room.
You were right, you know. Yeah, there wasn't enough room.
Each picture calls for its own style. I don't think I have a quote-unquote style. No! Huh? Holy God, get her away from me, somebody! Get her away from me! To put something in a movie that they can't understand, or a stunt that's so great that they gotta go back and see it again. Or just make it funny and delightful, let you enjoy the humor and enjoy the people.
Come on, we're back! We're bad. You're black. I'm mad. Come on, man!
Hey, listen, if we're going, shouldn't I have a gun?
No!
That's the only way you make a buck. They gotta go again. Go again and again and again. Eeny, meeny, miny.
Hey, Mom!
Oh, over here. Two wide angles and a close. Let's do it now. Come on the double, on the double. Move it. I never lose control of it. I mean, because once you lose control, you never get it back. When you say quiet, you mean it. And if the guys know you and they respect you, you can have all the frivolity you want. But when you do say quiet, you get the respect to keep it down. I told this thing, you have to make compromises to make movies. But you got to make compromises on your own levels, not for somebody else. Come on, Danny, get into it.
Please. But another been wrong time.
I told you. One more and he'll probably just go fully to pieces. Fire! Help! All right?
I thought it was planned, man, but nobody told me.
Hi, Mom.
What we're going to do here, actually, is
Where he crashes into this police car and flips it over on its top. And the way we accomplish this is, yeah, there, look, right? Remember, you go around. You're going to be around over on the right side. Hey. Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
I've been interested. What did I think? I thought it looked all right, and I'm glad it wasn't me.
sure there's worries. There's worries, is the script going to work? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? There's a million things you worry about. But you can't number them. You can't think about them. This was such a pleasure, and has been such a pleasure, that strange way, we all have another 8 or 10 days. I hate them to see them end. Action.
It's our play game. It's our playpen, you know. And that's not, you know, playpen. It's our playpen, yeah. So,
you often wonder about a grown-up job.
yeah.
Good police work, officer.
Come on.
No.
Back to my place. Hey, I'll even cook.
You're lucky. I have to live with that.
Oh, they're working on that.
They're working on that, yeah.
They're working on you?
Yeah?
They're working on me,
Yeah.
We're working on them now.
You go first, I'm gonna chew over this. You go first, I'll cover you.
Is it going to work? I don't know. You guys tell me. Rate me, Warner Brothers, Burbank, 4000 Warner Boulevard. Did you like it? Does it work? 1, 2, 3.
Mel Gibson was also considered for the lead role in this next surefire summer hit. Coming up next, an exclusive Making of Batman.
A renegade Vulcan.
I must have your starship. You look like you've just seen a ghost.
A forgotten past.
Spock, it would appear that you've been given a second chance to join me. What do you say?
Spock, my only concern is getting the ship back. You're either with me or you're not. A test of loyalty. Shoot him! I ordered you to defend your ship.
You ordered me to kill my brother.
Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Rated PG. Starts Friday, June 9th at theaters everywhere.
One movie this summer has generated more advanced curiosity than any other. The central character began as a comic book hero in 1939. He had his own campy television series in the 60s. And now, he is a movie star. Maybe you've heard of him. Batman. But his movie career hasn't come easy. It's taken Bat producers John Peters and Peter Goober 9 years to put the deal together. At least 10 different scripts were written. At one time, Bill Murray was going to play Batman when the film was crafted as a big-budget comedy. But it wasn't until Warner Brothers hired 29-year-old director Tim Burton and trusted his quirky vision that the deal was set in motion and the story of Batman could be told.
This one was a real tricky project. I mean, you have a man in the bat suit, and even though it's based on a comics, there's a lot of exploration to try to make something like this work.
Remember, your bird shall have no other wings but that of a bat. Surprisingly, the inspiration for Batman came from the words and drawings of Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci. At the age of 13, Batman creator Bob Kane came across Da Vinci's designs for a flying machine, and as Kane later said, there it was for me, the Batman.
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
On the 50th anniversary of the comic book Batman, a motion picture is about to be released starring Jack Nicholson as the Joker and Michael Keaton as Batman.
The star of this movie is truly a movie idol.
It really is the Phantom of the Opera of the 80s.
The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
You get the excitement and visual qualities from a comic book, but you also get a little bit more depth.
Vicky Vale.
Hi. Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
The year-long production of Batman was shot in London, where producers spent millions of dollars constructing a fully functional 6-block Gotham City set at Pinewood Studios. The scoring was also done in London. Producer John Peters was there to oversee the dramatic underscore of a film about his childhood hero.
For me, Batman was a character. He and Elvis Presley were my two favorite characters. Shame he couldn't have played. Yeah, and actually they're very similar. Although both had funny costumes. Yeah, they were. I remember saying to the people at Warner Bros. For years, Batman, Batman. They looked at me like I was a little peculiar, you know. How are you going to do a movie with a guy running with a cape and he has no superpower and he doesn't have kryptonite and he can't fly, all those different things. And then... Are they ready to go? Okay. No, they're not ready for us. They're not ready for us. I understand. I think this was a very difficult picture to make. It was very hard for all of us. And then, we met Tim and, it just started to fall into place.
One.
In the early stages of the deal, one of the most frustrating roadblocks was finding the director with the right vision. Producer John Peters finally got a lucky break.
I'm behind you like this. Come on.
On the surface, it may seem unusual that $40 million, one of the biggest movie deals of the year, was entrusted to 29-year-old Tim Burton.
On one hand, it's quite scary because you're dealing with his money. On the other hand, it's like a bunch of kids, tying capes around their neck and jumping off the roof.
Tim Burton had already directed 2 successful Warner Brothers pictures. He had just endeared himself to studio executives when he turned the $13 million budget of Beetlejuice into an $80 million blockbuster. It was Warner Brothers who had given Burton his first break, and now they were willing to roll the dice on him as director of Batman. The only person left to convince was producer John Peters.
Mark Canton, who's the president of worldwide production at Warner Brothers, kept talking about this young, inventive, crazy, talented kid who he was working with. And I kept saying, I want to meet him. It made me uncomfortable because I was always the crazy kid, and I'm not the kid anymore.
When they signed Burton, they hired his imagination and track record. What they were soon to learn about was his tremendous ability to perform under the extreme pressures of a complicated production in the presence of a multi-million-dollar cast.
Yeah, Batman is a huge challenge to anybody. The way they chose to do it, And it was enormous undertaking. I mean, the kid, you know, I mean, he's kind of known, you know, for his, like, power, you know what I mean? The kid's, like, known to be pale. He went past pale. He almost went to transparent, this kid who's working so hard. I just thought every day was his last day. Didn't think he could stand up to another one, and he just... But I think the thing Tim actually likes, without even knowing, is that he likes those frayed wires, you know. That's where it starts to happen, you know. And, you know, his whole look, you know, his whole hair and his whole look is about that.
Again, like, what you're suggesting is an interesting thing, because you don't want it to look like you want it to look like you're wounded, but you're still going for it. Do you know what I mean?
Stay out of the light.
Got it.
Tim Burton I would work with any day, anytime he called me, any day of the... I'd start tomorrow morning on a film that if he had something to do with it, with never having read it. Because I came in on this rather late, and I met him, and instantly the two of us sort of took off flying together, like two bats.
Now that the director was in place, the producers needed someone to fill the bat suit. Candidates included Mel Gibson, Charlie Sheen, and Pierce Brosnan. TV Batman, Adam West, was not in the running.
Very odd. This could be a plot to separate us.
He was offered a cameo appearance in the film, but declined.
What a terrible way to go.
John Peters and Tim Burton pushed Warner Brothers for an unconventional choice. They believed that the perfect square-jawed Superman type lacked the twisted psychotic qualities of their Dark Knight. Unexpectedly, they found Batman in Beetlejuice.
We thought, wow, wouldn't that be an interesting idea if we could have Michael Keaton play Batman? Everyone went, Michael Keaton play Batman! They wanted to throw us out of the business. People were picketing against the picture. They were writing letters. There were people within Warner Brothers calling the chairman in New York saying, we're going to destroy the whole thing.
When the role of Batman was first proposed to Keaton, he almost immediately declined.
My life is really complex.
Posing another threat to the deal.
I think Michael was as shocked as anybody when we approached him. You know, I don't look like, you know, the classic image of Batman.
There's nothing really that you can do. It's just blah, 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 and by the time you get over there, it's like he's driving away.
Keaton was hesitant for three reasons. First, he had no particular interest in the comic book or TV show. Second, he wanted to take a break. And third, there was a strong possibility that Jack Nicholson would be playing the Joker.
I was hesitant to blow it with Jack, as he's somebody I've always wanted to work with. Probably the person I've always wanted to work with.
Out of a courtesy to Tim Burton, Michael Keaton read the script. Batman's dark and driven character won him over, and he accepted the role.
Again, once he got into the concept of what we were doing, he got very interested in it.
Stay out of the light.
I think the most difficult thing in making this picture was getting the right people together at the right time to be able to have everybody commit to make the movie.
The final step was to find the Joker. Offering Jack Nicholson his average $11 million per picture was easy. What wasn't easy was getting him to commit.
Me?
Having made Witches of Eastwick with him, where he played the devil, we had talked about, you know, him playing the Joker, but not until he met Tim, and then as Michael Keaton came into the picture, I think that Jack started to see that what Tim was assembling was a really interesting picture and an inventive picture. And then we flew over to London and we spent some time over here and we showed him the Batmobile.
Get those wonderful toys.
Yeah, it took him a while to own it.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker.
Originally, he was only supposed to work like 3 weeks. And then he ended up working like 91 days, I think. So 106. 106 days. 106 days. 106 days. I'm underpaid.
The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
You just get it all, you know. He's willing to push it as far as he thinks he has to push it. You know what I mean? No fear. You know, even though, you know, I mean, he would say to me, sometimes we'll walk over and say, what do you think? And I'd say, you know, he'd say, I can't tell, you know, I don't know whether it's applying
comments on my face and everything, and I'd say, and I'd give nothing but honest, opinion, which was usually, it's great, what do you want?
You look fine.
I didn't ask.
In 1966, ABC aired a new TV series that became a phenomenon. Even though the TV series was 24 years old and an all-star cast was locked into the film deal, producers always knew there was a potential problem.
Side table, Batman? Just what you drank, so I'll stand far. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
How would Bat fans compare the new Dark Avenger with the campy Cape Crusader of the 60s?
I actually loved the TV series when I was a kid. I realized when I got involved with it early on that it was, we just had to do our movie because on one hand you have comic book people who hate the TV series. On the other hand, most people know the TV series and they think about the theme and the pow, bang, and all that sort of thing. And, there's no way, there's no way to satisfy everybody. Yes, the television series has been made. Yes, there's a comic book. I happen to be one of the people who didn't like the TV series because I was in love with the comic book. I love the Dark Avenger of the Night quality.
I feel a little drunk. And you're not anything.
Hey, one drink and I'm flying.
When freak terrorizes, wait till they get a load of me.
It's too hard of a job to just copy something, and you got to give it something new and hopefully keep in with the spirit of what you think it is. So I don't know how I would fulfill that obligation other than saying I hope that the spirit of why I love the image of Batman is there.
Warner Brothers will soon know if the deal will pay off. Before it's over, we'll spend close to $9 million to advertise this summer blockbuster.
Somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press.
At this moment, Batman with Michael Keaton is being heavily promoted. At the other extreme, Premiere's next blockbuster has been kept a secret until now. The Mystery of the Abyss is coming up. Imagine working underwater on the bottom of a swimming pool. 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, for 14 straight weeks. Only your pool is an abandoned nuclear reactor, and you're floating 55 feet underwater with 100 neighbors. It's large enough to hold 7 million gallons of water, about the size of 400 swimming pools. Now cover it with a massive black tarp to block out the sunlight. Well, that's exactly what writer-director James Cameron did to make The Abyss. And once underwater, Cameron pushed every element of filmmaking to the breaking point. And in the process, he created something unique. Directing aliens and the Terminator were child's play compared to fighting the incredible odds of The Abyss.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron. I'd like you to come with me into one of the most mysterious places on Earth. The Abyss.
Welcome to the toughest shoot of the summer, the underwater filming of The Abyss. It began as a science fiction story James Cameron wrote in high school, with the emphasis on science. What it's evolved into is a thrilling, mysterious love story that's the underdog movie of the summer. The plot centers around a commercial undersea drilling station and the remarkable discovery its crew makes in its search for a missing nuclear submarine. Ed Harris leads the blue-collar oil riggers. Michael Biehn commands the Navy crack seal divers who commandeer the rig. And Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio plays the rig's engineer, and Harris is estranged wife.
I didn't come down here to fight with you.
And why did you come down?
You need me? Nobody knows the pistons on this rig better than I do.
The Abyss is one of the most ambitious projects Hollywood has ever tackled. The anticipation surrounding its release is exceeded only by its director's frustration in getting it made. 40% of this movie was actually shot underwater. That's never been done before. Cameron and his colleagues had to develop new technologies to allow them to stay submerged for an entire shooting day. Technology like an underwater air refilling station, a communication system allowing the crew to hear Cameron's direction and to record the actors' dialogue, and special wide-view helmets which wouldn't obstruct the actors' faces.
All right, just continue forward along the hall.
A $30 million budget was fast being spent. A lot of money was literally being thrown into a pit, converting the containment vessel of a never-completed South Carolina nuclear power plant into the world's largest shooting tank.
You can't anticipate the problems that you're going to encounter. And every day there was a new one.
And Kimberly, at the end of this, pull back on your left joystick. Yeah. Okay? And start to turn the knob like you're out of here.
I had my doubts that all of it could come together. There were so many breakdown possibilities, and it was all so new. At one point we had 3 submarines, 2 or 3 remotely operated vehicles, 3 or 4 underwater cameras, 2 of them with video monitors. There was more than 100, perhaps 150 people at the helm. And it took everyone's sync to pull it off.
If you remember the undersea adventures, keep in mind that more of the action there took place on land than in water. And many of those scenes were shot in shallow water. Cameron's quest for ultimate realism kept him and his crew under 50 feet of water for prolonged periods of time. No amount of engineering could totally overcome the inconveniences and inherent dangers of this kind of shoot.
It is a love story set against the background of this intense thriller-type environment. We, of course, had safety divers, one for each actor all the time. And I actually got so absorbed in my work once that I just ran out of air while I was doing a scene 30 feet down, and had to take off my helmet and get to the surface very quickly, right in the middle of talking to my leading lady standing on the bottom of the tank. You're going to have to say the line, but we're not really going to see it because we're a little wide, you know what I mean?
While the average sport diver may spend an hour at a time underwater before surfacing, Cameron's shooting schedule required staying on the bottom for up to 5 hours at a time. This, combined with the difficulty of many shots, the boredom of waiting between shots, and the claustrophobic eeriness of the set in general, was perhaps the hardest on the film's actors. Most of the leads had absolutely no diving experience and were certified just weeks prior to the shooting. The demands on them were reportedly so grueling that some are still reluctant to talk about their experiences.
A lot of people went through some stuff that they never figured they were going to be going through. But we always felt pretty secure because we had divers working with us that were responsible for our safety. And these guys were like angels, man, because they were great.
Here's the bottomless pit, baby. 2.5 miles straight down.
While industry insiders are excited about the movie's unique plot and filming, it's not the kind of story you can boil down to a phrase and package in a slick ad campaign. To make things even harder, the film's climax is a closely guarded secret which some studio executives don't even know. And with the terrible performance of this year's 2 previous underwater adventure movies, it makes this film's quest to surface above the competition that much harder.
We have no way of warning the surface.
Coffee looks and he's his hate and fear. You have to look with better eyes than that. The scope of the film is so enormous that in retrospect, you look back and shake your head and say, how did we do it?
And action!
By just getting made, The Abyss seems to have triumphed against the odds. Ultimately, it has the potential to triumph as the new summer box office sizzler. James Cameron will have to wait until September for the final ticket tally, but few in the industry would bet against a man whose last 2 thrillers have earned together over $140 million.
I think that The Abyss, it has some action, but it's not about action. It has hardware, but it's not about hardware. It's about people. It's a love story.
There is something down there. Something not us. I saw these things. I touched one of them. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I need you to believe me right now. Please.
For the most part, we were able to tell the story we set out to tell, I think. And I'm happy with the results.
movies premiere covers in the special could collectively earn, if successful, more than $500 million. And overall, an astounding 220 million tickets are expected to be sold this summer. The stakes are high for the filmmakers, and the box office marketing war between the studios has begun. But if you're like me, what this all means is that I'll be spending a lot of summer nights in a dark theater watching movies. By the way, I also have a film coming out this summer, a comedy called Worth Winning. So I'll be seeing you in a few short weeks. Thanks for watching Premiere Magazine's first television special. Back in Gotham City.
Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale.
Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne. Joker. Alfred, let's go shopping.
Next Saturday, The Reporters returns at its new time, right after Cops and before Beyond Tomorrow. Now, stay tuned for an all-new episode of Cops next.
Burton. Morning, Roger. Burton.
The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I saw these things. I touched one of them.
Junior.
You guys are breathing really heavy, right? There is no escape.